My name is Denise Wescott. I'm actually a product of Title IX. My first year at Maryland, I was the first year that women athletes were offered scholarships to go to college. So I played field hockey and basketball and lacrosse at Maryland for a couple years, and then it got to be a little too much, so I stayed with field hockey and lacrosse. I have coached on a Division I level in the NCAA for about 35 years, worked with a U.S. team, and have coached in about 24 different countries. So I've been around the game a long time. So we're going to talk about recruiting, but first thing I want the athletes to stand up, and I want you to show me how big you can be. Just get as big as you can. Come on, stand up. Come on, stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Come on. I want to see how big you can be. All right. This is the player we want to coach. The person that's going to go the extra 5% to do more, to be more, to want more. All right, you can sit down. That was a visual learning tool. So this is going to be a process. And what I mean by a process is that I know some 8th graders that have made some commitments. We've had some 9th graders make some commitments. All right, for most of you, your sophomore year is going to be the most important year of your life. Between your school season, going out to see people, and the summer before your sophomore year and the summer after your sophomore year. That's when most college coaches are actually starting to create their short lists. All right? What goes first? Probably one of the best players on your club team. If you're one of the best players in your club team, you may be one of the first people that go. But this train is not started by you, and it's not started by me. It's started by the college coaches. So whoever makes the first offers, then everybody else is going to start the train. So I can't tell you when it's going to start, but it will start. And usually it starts somewhere around the end of your 8th grade year through your junior and senior year for some of you. It's a process of you trying to find opportunities to get an education and to play lacrosse. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that every year you're in school, take care of your grades. Your grades are going to open doors or close doors. I know that my transcript would have never gotten me to an Ivy League school. So work on your grades. That's the first thing, and it's always the thing that you want to do the most. Ivies are going to look to see if you're in honors classes or taking AP classes. All right? It also can help you financially because some Division I programs can package your athletic aid with academic aid. So there's more academic aid available in the world than there are lacrosse scholarships. So work on your grades. It's one of the most important things you can do. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to work on your game. Because if you're already starting to be looked at in 8th grade, that means you need to be good enough. And that's the bottom line, all right? You've got to show them stats and smart stats. Going 1-on-5 to show a college coach that you can drive is not a smart stat because you're probably going to lose possession. So you've got to play the game well, all right? They're going to want to see stats like goals and assists, ground balls, getting the draw. They're going to want to see interceptions or cause turnovers from the defenders. They're going to want to see how fast the goalie's hands are. All right? What things do you think college coaches look at when they're trying to pick talent? That was a question for you all because I want this to be interactive. Speed. Speed and agility are key. Especially, let's say, in the women's game now that we have a 90-second rule coming in. Speed is going to be huge. And if you're not sure what position you want to play yet, I know that most Division I coaches are looking at middies first because you have the package of being able to play on offense and defense. Because as attackers, you got to be able to learn to tackle back and middies can do that already, and usually middies are the fastest. So they're looking at middies. But if you're an attacker that can put the ball in the cage, they'll probably take you too. And if you're that beast in the back that can stop the ball from getting to the goal cage, they'll probably pick you too. But I know that they will be looking for speed and they will be looking for middies. All right. What else do you think they look for? So they look for speed and agility. And they also look for power, how strong you are. That's the athletic piece. What else do they look for? A team player, absolutely. A team player. So it's not about playing pig ball. It's about putting the ball in the best place to get a goal. It's about tackling back and riding in the midfield or pushing the ball up the field in the midfield. It's about getting ground balls. It's about getting draws or face-offs, if you're a guy in the audience. It's about stopping fast breaks, stopping the driver. So it's about team play. What else do they look for? Come on, let's be creative. Coachability. And coachability, so they also look at personality, right? There's 4 things that a college coach will look at as far as your play. They're going to look at your athleticism. They're going to look at your stick skills. They're going to look at how you handle strategy, playing team ball. They're going to look for gritty. You'll go in and fight for ground balls, all right? And they're going to look for the competitor, the person that wants the ball when the game is tied, the person that will do the right thing in big moments and make big plays. But they're going to watch your coachability. They're also going to watch you around every event you're at. And I learn the most when I go into restaurants or hotels around events. I watch how you deal with your parents. I watch how your parents deal with your kids. I listen to you while you're walking back to the car after a tournament. It's amazing what you show us all over the place. They're also going to want to see how you deal with the officials, and they're also going to want to see how you deal with making a mistake, how you recover. You know, you're going to drag your head and be mad at yourself and bury yourself, so we have to take you off the field, or are you going to try to make the next big play? You're going to look for those things, all right? The first part of the process is what I call the dream team years. You can send an email to anybody you want. So we know North Carolina and Maryland were in the last championship with the women. We know the men just won from North Carolina. So if you want to go to Carolina, send them an email. Pick every school that you want to. I wouldn't do more than a list of about 20 because that's too crazy to pick more than that. But go after every team you're interested in. Within the first few months of your high school years, we're going to know whether North Carolina is interested in you or not, because they typically go after recruits the earliest. So go after your dream teams, but sooner or later, reality is going to hit. You're going to know who's starting to be interested in you based on them letting the coaches know, or if they're in Division 2 or 3, they can write you and tell you if they're interested or not, okay? The first part of the process is to start to look at places that you're interested in. So what are you looking for in a college? Yeah. So you're looking at that academic piece. How many of you actually know what you want to major in? Raise your hands. Be proud. I asked the first girl that's sitting right in front of me earlier, and she said she wanted to be a farmer. I'm like, wow, that's different. But that means state school and ag tech. So you may not know what you're majoring in. You may know. Look at the schools that have strong academics in those majors. Look at schools that have a lot of variety and see what's possible, okay? So the academic piece is one, all right? What do you look at when you look at the athletic piece? What are you looking for when you're looking at athletics? So you want to see the facilities, you want to see kind of, you know, the weight room and the training room, where they play, how big the stadium is, right? So yeah, facilities is one of them. What else do you look at? Come on, people. What division? Some Division II and III schools can beat some of our Division I programs, at least in women's lacrosse. So yeah, you can start to look at their game schedule to see where they're playing. You can look at wins, losses. You can go on Lax Power and look for their RPI. RPI is their ranking based on their wins and losses and their strength of schedule. You go into Lax Power, you look in the RPIs, you can click right on that school and it will take you to their website. All right, so you want to look at wins and losses. You want to look at what conference they're in. That may put you closer to home. It may put you as far away from home as you want to be, depending on where you're looking. Okay, at least some people laughed. What else are you looking for?
The way that the team melds.
The way the team, like the chemistry? Absolutely. You need to at least know two things. You need to know what their expectations are from the coaches. They will sit you down and talk to you about what their expectations are. And you need to understand how many hours you're going to spend. If you want to play Division I, it will be more important or as important as your academics. And the coaches might not tell you that, but I'm telling you that. They're going to want you to spend time all year on staying in shape. If you're an 8th grader going into 9th grade, or you're a high school athlete, from this point until you graduate from college, I would stay in shape. That means you can take a couple weeks off around Christmas and right after your season, but it will be easier for you if you stay in shape. Because if you're trying out for high school coaches will like to see that you're in shape or you're the fastest one over the line every time you run. And so will college. I have any college coaches here? Okay, I had college coaches at the last ones. I think my last year coaching at Monmouth, about 25% of our players came back in shape. And one freshman that beat everybody in just about every run, and she was the one freshman that got on the field as a starter her freshman year. So stay in shape. Get on the wall, empty a ball bag. Those things will help you to be picked up. Work on your game. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take care of your academics and you want to take care of your game. You got to be good enough to be recruited because there's 3 things that I can't change and you can't change. You can't change what the academic requirements are of getting into a college. You can't change what a college coach thinks of you. And here's the crazy part. Because this game is going so fast at recruiting, most coaches are only watching a half. So it's the half that you made one heinous play. That might be what they're basing their decision on. So you need to be on all the time. You need to be ready to play, regardless of the weather. Could be rainy, could be hot as hell, doesn't matter. You better show up because they're watching you at any moment. And they'll sometimes make a decision based on one thing. I know we just got done our IWLCA tournament, and I had one player get picked up by a college because they were looking at her. She had a torn labrum in her hip, so she was going to have surgery, and it wasn't going to hurt her to play, so she kept playing. She got hit. She went down on the ground, and the coach called the dad on the field, and the dad's going on the field, and I see this player, get off the field. She's like calling her dad off the field. She's like, I'm playing. She got up, she iced for a little while. At halftime, she asked to go back in. We made her sit the rest of the game, but the college coach that was making a decision on her, that was the last piece. He's like, I'm after her. She wants to play. She doesn't care if she's hurt. I love the fact that she kicked her dad off the field. So you never know what's going to catch their eye. But that was, they had seen her play as a player, but that was the last piece that made them make a choice. So it's all about choices, the choices you make that go on Twitter, the choices that you make deciding which classes you're going to take, what you're going to do with your homework, what you're going to do away from the field with your friends. I know of one athlete that was brought up by the college that she committed to, and they told her if they saw any more party things on her Twitter, that they were taking their offer back. So you need to be smart. There are 3 areas that you're going to live on as a college student. You're going to live in the academic world, you're going to live in the athletic world, and you're going to live as a person. So checking out chemistry of a team. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to send out a few emails. In the email, it should not be a mass email. I shouldn't see that you're sending it to every Division I coach in the country. You need to personalize it. So look online. If you know you're sending it to North Carolina and they just won a national championship, it might be nice to personalize it by starting with, congratulations on winning a national championship, or going to your conference playoffs. If you can't even, or a good win. I know Rutgers beat Ohio State. That probably was the best thing they did this year. That's the women, all right? If they've got a couple all-stars that made the all-star team, if you're watching some of the videos of the coach, which is a great thing to do. You need to listen to what she's saying. So if you watch a couple videos and there's one thing that Coach said in her video and it really hits you, something you really believe in, then maybe that's how you personalize it. But personalize the email so they understand that you are actually interested in their college and you know about their college. The second thing you're going to do is throw in everything that's going to sell you. Mine would have not been my transcript right away, but if you're 4.0 student, I would start with that. I am a 4.0 student, blah, 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 all right? If you can put on something on YouTube or Huddle that the college coaches can click on to watch, it doesn't need to be more than 2 minutes, but if you do it for 4, that's fine. If it's easy for me, right in the email, to watch you play, it might wet my whistle, especially some of you that are from Illinois and Ohio and places that are hard for college coaches to get to. You're going to have to want them to want to see you. So send a video at some point. Send your grades. Talk about that if it's a good thing. All right, but you got to try to sell yourself a little bit, okay? And then at some point during this whole procedure, you're either going to send them your high school schedule or your summer schedule. So that's the first email or so. The second emails would be every week of every tournament that you play in. Well, actually, let's start with your high school. You might highlight the 3 games that are the most competitive for you. The second email will be if you make playoffs, because by the time you start playing in playoffs, we're done our seasons. So we will get out and watch some of your playoff games or your state games. All right? So let us know. Then you're going to send your summer schedule. About every Tuesday or Wednesday of every week that you play in the summer, I would just send them a reminder. We do not want your schedule. You send it on Monday, they change it on Thursday, you try to send it at 11 on Friday, I'm already in the hotel. I'm not going to go back and look at it. So just remind us of where you're playing. And keep trying to personalize. Either them, maybe there's something new on their website. Could be that Obama went and spoke there, or Trump went and spoke there. Hey, I saw Trump spoke at your college. It still bothers me that somebody like that would be running for president, but that's my opinion. The second thing you want to do is, just remind them of where you're playing, and then you might stick in a couple of personal things, like, hey, my family's going to Maine, we go to a lake every summer, something that makes it a little personal about you, or I just read this book, and I really like this. It's creating a relationship with that coach, right? More so for the women, even more than the guys. It's about creating a relationship because that's what women like. All right? It lets me get to know you a little bit better. You get to know us better sometimes when we send emails back. All right? We're creating that relationship. The third phase of relationship, and guys, you want to do this. Go to their clinics and camps. You're going to see them coach. You're going to be around their players. Don't be radio silent around the water hole. That's when you're like, hey, what's it like to play here? What do you guys do on the weekends? How is it to be on the team? What do you guys do for fun? You're going to start to see the chemistry of the players, of how they are around camp with each other. You're going to see the chemistry with the coaches. You're going to let them see them coach. All right? That other phase is to watch games, either local colleges that are coming in. There's now a lot on cable. There's a lot on the internet. Watch. Because before you make a decision, you better know what that coach's style of coaching is. All right? If he's a screamer and a yeller, maybe you like that. Maybe you don't. If you watch him and he's not doing anything on the sidelines, that would scare me. Or he's just yelling things like, "What are you doing?" Okay, there's no information in there. He's not really coaching, or she's not really coaching. So you want to see what their coaching style's like, or at least see if they know what they're talking about. You want to watch their style of play. Maybe you like run and gun and all they do is pass, pass, pass. Maybe you like a passing game because your best thing is catching and shooting. You've got to watch their style, and as much as they're going, "Is she good enough to play for me?" you're going to have to do the same thing. You're going to have to watch them play and go, "Oh, I'm not as good as her, but I think I'm as fast as her. I think I can play here." Because it is not fun to sit on the bench for 4 years. So part of the process is trying to figure out whether you want the challenge of trying to get on the field or if you want to be a big fish in a small pond. Because all of you are better at one of those than the other. So figure it out. All right? So now you're starting to go to camps and clinics. That will give you information to thin your list out based on what kind of feedback you're getting from the college coaches to your club coaches or your high school coaches. You might have opportunities that you never knew about, and you might lose a few. All right? You need to go on campus. When you get down to your top 5, you need to go on campus. You need to listen to the coaches and what they're saying behind the desk, but they're a different person when they're sitting behind the desk. But you're going to know if they don't talk about academics at all. If you're in a major like pre-med, chemical or engineering, teaching, nursing, some of those have a lot of labs that conflict with practice times. So if you're going in a major like that, you need to ask them whether you can major in that and go to school there. Just because they have that major on campus doesn't mean they're going to let you major in it. So make sure you know. All right, that would be one of your questions. Be ready to talk. All right, we hate the athlete that gives us one words. I'm going to ask you about your lacrosse. What do you bring to the table? What's the best thing you do? You got to be able to talk about it. They're going to ask you about your academics. You're going to have to talk about that. And they're going to throw in crazy questions. Fresno State, she's got like 100 questionnaire that she makes you fill out. And it's stuff like, what's the last book you read? What did you get from it? Who's your idol? If you could meet somebody that was dead, who it would be? She has a multitude of questions that she asks. I can't say you're going to be ready for everything, but you should at least be able to talk about something you do or something that you like away from the field, like paddle boarding or you love animals. Something they're going to ask you, like, what do you do away from lacrosse? You're going to have to talk about it. And just because they ask the question doesn't mean you have to ramble into something right away. Think about it. It's okay. There can be radio silence for a minute or two. Okay? Now, the other thing that you want to do is look around their office. If there's a book behind them that interests you, that you read, if there's, 6 triathlete medals, you know what to ask them. Look on the desk. Is there a dog? Is there a husband? Is there a wife? Are there kids? Something, not that all of you can relate to that, but it will show you, even the knickknacks that they have on their desk sometimes can tell you. I always had crazy toys. That was me. I was a crazy goalie. So you're going to see things in the office that might tell you what their personality's like or something you can ask about them. If there's dead silence, one of the easiest questions you can ask is, how did you feel about last season? And what would you change? Or what did you like about last season? What do you want out of your lacrosse players? What are you looking for? Those are easy questions. And most college coaches are egotistical. It's about them. So it's easy for them to talk about them. All right? subconsciously, if I talk with my hands, if I sit with my arms crossed, if you actually mimic me, I will feel more comfortable with you. Something I learned in a psychology class. So if they talk slow and they turn their head and they talk like this, do the same thing. If they cross their legs, cross your legs. If they talk with their hands, talk with your hands. They're actually going to feel more comfortable with you. All right? After you make the visit, a bonus would be not the email, but a nice handwritten note. It's very rare and it will stick out. So I just gave you a bonus tool. All right? When you're sending out your emails, check to make sure that you have the right coach and the right college together. When I was at Monmouth, I knew that Mount St. Mary's was a school right in front of me because half the time they forgot to change the school name or they forgot to change the coach's name. All right? Even when you get down to your 20, I would go on the internet and make sure that the college coach that's listed on some website is actually the one that's at their school because coaches do change. When you send your emails, don't just send it to the head coach. She is swamped with everything. Typically, an assistant coach is in charge of recruiting, so when you send those emails, send it to every coach. I even would send it to the ops person because it was the ops person that I just got at Notre Dame to get a kid to be able to meet with a coach when she was at camp. So send it to everybody.
Can I ask a question about that? Would you
Yeah.
just put them all on one email? Or
Yeah, no, I would just do all on one email. As long as they're from the same institution, all one email is fine. Because then they'll all get it separately, and somebody in there is going to be in charge of your area or in charge of recruiting. So make sure you send it to everybody. All right? But don't mass email. I don't want to see 80 school. I'm like, okay, I'm one of 80. Woohoo! Don't mass email things. I see it all the time, and that's the stuff we go, gunk, delete. All right, so you have to be good enough to play. What they're going to look for at the end of the day and what you want to look for is academic fit, athletic fit. They're going to look at chemistry, whether you fit in. I mean, I really like this one player. She's probably one of the best players we had come and visit at my last school. And by 5 minutes into it, I knew we didn't want her at our school because she kept yelling at her parents, and it was all about her. So I thought, well, we'll let her stay overnight. We'll let her meet our players. We came back the next day. The first question we had with our players, what was she like? Oh, my God, we hated her. All she wanted to do was talk about herself and how good she was. And she wanted to smoke, and she wanted to drink. You think any coach is going to want that? Right? They're going to want a person that's an upstanding citizen that can fit in with their players, that's personable. It's hard when you're shy to be in this process, but you got to be able to talk. So practice. Practice with your parents while you're driving down to tournaments. All right? Practice on the dog at home, talking to the dog. Like, practice. Some of you are very personable and funny. Some of you are shyer, but you're going to have to make an impact when you go and you visit. All right? So make sure you make an impact. There are a lot of multitude of things in this handout. All right? But understand that this is a process, and it'll peel off sooner correctly. I know some of you want to play at North Carolina. You're probably not going to be good enough. You got to think out of the 300 club teams in this country, each school is picking about 6 people to 8 people to offer money to. All right? So it's going to be a process. Some of you are going to go to 1s, some are going to 2s. 2s have money also. All right? 3s sometimes can package academic aid and need-based aid that it will cost you less also. So work with each college on 2 things once you get an offer. Work on how you're going to apply, because some of them will code your applications. Some of them will tell you what major to apply to, and then they'll change it when you get to school. So they'll tell you how you can apply to school. The second thing is look at financial aid. It's unbelievable some of the scholarships that are at colleges and they're not used. And that was one place I would dig in. We got $2,000 for a kid that was an Irish Catholic and she just needed a letter from her priest. $2,000 a year for 4 years. One, she was a twin in engineering. I had a twin that was in engineering. I'm like, look at this. Send a letter. You never know. You're just going to have to do dinner with them and you'll have $5,000 each year. Make sure you work with your coaches with the aid that you get, because some of it will count against their athletic aid and they will tell you that you can't accept it. So make sure if you have something from a VFW from home or you get some crazy scholarship somewhere, you need to let the college coach know, because if you're in Division I, some of that can't be used if you've actually been offered money. All right, how many of you know what a walk-on is? Tell me what you think a walk-on is.
Someone who tries out for the team but didn't initially get recruited.
Well, it's not that they didn't initially get recruited. I may have recruited them, but they knew that I was done my money. All right, but a walk-on is anyone that's not on financial aid. So they could have been recruited, but they could also not have been recruited. And the not recruited ones, it's tough to make the team. So you need to look at what you're walking in. You're going to have to check on the coaches, especially goalies. Not every college is going to need a goalie in your class. That's a tougher position because they're not always going to recruit every year. Some like one goalie in each class. Some will take 4. Some will take 3, and some only take 2, which I think is crazy if somebody gets hurt. But make sure you know what you're walking into. All right? Once you get down to your short list, besides going and visiting and actually meeting with the coaches, meeting with the players, maybe going to a class, go to lunch, see how they act with each other at lunch, you also want to make sure what your competition is. So let's say they make you an offer and you're a defender and you're only a sophomore. I'd ask them who they recruited in the next 2 classes in front of you, just so you know what you're competing against, because half of who's going to be there when you go to school aren't there yet, especially a goalie. I would ask them, if she's a 16, go, who's in your 17 and who's in your 15 and 14 class in front of me. I'd want to know what I'm competing against, and I would YouTube and see if I could watch them, especially goalies, because there's only one. All right, but you could do that also with defense and attack. See where your competition is. Because you got to decide whether you want to go there if you think you can get on the field right away, or at least within your sophomore, junior year. Yes?
I have 2 questions. The first one is, earlier you mentioned Huddle. Put any dreams in Huddle or NCSA.com or any of those. And the other one is, I have a daughter. She's always worried, so am I, of overselling yourself in anything.
Right.
What's your take on
So the first one was like Huddle. Huddle is just an instrument for me to watch a game. And also it's an instrument, like YouTube would be an instrument for me to see her play. If it's like Captain U or one of like NCS, like some of the scouting places, I typically deleted that crap. I didn't want it. I think the guys use it more than we do. Sooner or later, I want to see the kid play. So if it's easier for me, if I get an email and I can watch them right away. So if you can do that, that's going to be better. If I get it through Captain U or I get it through like a national scouting service, I personally deleted them. I just didn't want to support that kind of corporation, but a lot of coaches do, and I know the men do more than we do. So I'm not saying it's bad, but what college coaches want is they want easy. So if I can click on it and watch you, that's the best thing you can do. It doesn't have to be, dun, 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 dun. I don't need the music. I don't need it in slow motion 5 times. And I saw one tape, and in 2 minutes, literally I saw 5 things. Backwards, forwards, it's slow motion, but it was the same 5 plays. I'm like, okay, I know she can do 5 things. All right? We don't need it to be professional. We just need to see it. Because I've also gotten ones that the kid is an ant, and they're like, she's number 23. I can't see hill a hoot, let a 23 on the field. So I've got to at least be able to spot her, see what she can do, and see her play a little. All right? So Scouting services aren't as big with the women, but who knows? I think it's coming. I think everything the men are doing, it's coming to the women. As far as overselling yourself, if it's 5 paragraphs of crap, I'm going to be like, oh my God, this kid is stuck on herself. I just need to see a couple things. Like, I play for this school. This is my position. I played varsity. I had 5 goals and, 2 assists against this team, or this was my, I had 52 goals for the year, 15 assists. That kind of wets my whistle enough. I don't need to know, and maybe you made an all-star team and you're playing at these 3 tournaments. That's enough. If you rattle off, every game of everything you did and you stalk me every day, I'm going to get tired of you. So once every 2 or 3 weeks is enough until you get into your tournament games in the summer. Then once a week, I think it's just a quick email just to remind them of where you're playing. So don't make it too long, but sell yourself. 4 or 5 things, not 4 or 5 pages. And we also start to realize when the parent sends it and the player's not. When I read some of this stuff, I'm going, that was not written by a 9th grader. We'd rather hear from you. The last year I coached at Monmouth, I counted. The dad emailed me 82 times, and the player emailed me 5. I know what the dad wanted. The dad wanted to play for us, his daughter. But the daughter really didn't want it. I don't even think she wanted to play Division I. So you need to be an active participant. And if you take an offer before you've seen the coach, and you've seen the team play, and you haven't been on campus, I don't think you're doing your due diligence. Typically, you make a decision after the 2nd or 3rd visit, which means emailing, getting to the camping clinic, going to a prospect day might be your 2nd visit. Your 3rd visit might be actually meeting with the coaching staff that day and spending the day with a team and watching them practice and going to a class or 2. Your 4th encounter might be the next prospect day, and maybe they're making you an offer. But it's got to be 3 or 4 times. Because if you do it less than that, you really don't know what you're walking into. Use your resources. I know what they're like behind a desk. Maybe I know what they're like at the field. There are a lot of parents that have alums that went to those places, or players that at your own schools that went to those players. Ask them what it was like. They're going to tell you it was a job. They're going to tell you they had fun. They're going to tell you something. If you look at their roster, go back 3 years. If 10 people leave every year, that's what I call a mass exodus. There must be a reason why. If most of the players stay, it's usually a good thing. Look at their stat sheets. There could be 30 people on the roster and 14 have stats. There could be 30 on a roster and 22 have stats. You're going to see how the coach plays people. All right? The All-American, that's the leading scorer that's meeting with you, is happy as hell. If you get a chance to catch a freshman that's in the trenches and doesn't know if they're going to play yet, they're going to tell you what reality is like. And they'll be truthful, sometimes stupidly truthful. God, I hate the dining hall. Yeah, everybody hates the dining hall when they first get there because it's not mom's home cooking. But they'll usually tell you the truth. All right, so go to alums, go to parent alums. If it's a coach that just switched schools, go back to the other school and find players from there and see what they're like. Because you need to do your homework before you say yes. All right? There's a lot of poaching going on. I feel like we're going to get to the point where there's guys sitting there with 5 hats and you're just going to grab one and put it on the day of signing. I don't know. I think it's tough when you've made a commitment. I know right now in Capital we have 2 girls that are committed to Dartmouth. Who knows what's going to happen, because the commitment that you make is not with you and the school, it's with you and that coach. And if that coach leaves, I don't know if the institution is going to support what you are promised. Or if the new coach is going to do the same thing. So you're going to need to be smart. And I would keep some people in your pocket. Like, you want to go to Maryland, didn't quite happen, you're going to UNC. The email to Maryland that you're saying no, I wouldn't be like, no, you suck. I would be like, thank you very much. I really enjoyed the offer. Don't burn bridges, because you never know what's going to happen in life. You may get to the school you go to, and you might absolutely hate every second of it, and you're going to need to find another home. So don't burn any bridges with any of your emails. Make them friendly, thank them, just tell them that you've made another option. If it's one of your top 3 and they've spent a lot of time on you, I know it's very hard, but a phone call would be nice. Hey, coach, I'm just calling. I'm just letting you know that I made a commitment to XYZ. I really love Podunk U, but I'm moving on to this other school, but thank you so much for the opportunity. It was really a hard choice for me. I know of only 2 coaches that I've heard of that actually yelled back at the kid. They burned their bridge. Most will just be happy that you found a home and that you've played. All right? Do I have any questions? Yeah, there are a lot of kids, let's say rising 9th graders, that have taken offers already. There are a lot of college coaches that get out in 7th and 8th grade. That offer means that it's going to happen if that coach stays there. I don't know many coaches that change an offer unless the kid really does something stupid. Most of the time, even with injuries, they'll take them. But it's a good question to ask when they give you an offer and it's verbal. Just say, could you tell me what this means? How bonding is it? What are you saying to me? And they may say, look, I don't care if you get injured, whatever, it's going to be here for you. Some might say, you got to keep your grades at this place. If you commit to an Ivy and your grades aren't strong enough for you to get in, one of the best players I got, one of the last schools I worked at, was a kid that was supposed to go to Yale and she couldn't get in. And we got her senior year, and she was one of my best players. So that offer, typically, that verbal offer, is between you and that college coach. And they're usually true to their word. Unless they find that you've got all these party things and sleeping with women all over the place things, or men, they'll probably honor it. But it is between you and the coach. Because if the coach leaves, that offer either goes out the door with you, or I would be calling the administration to see what's happening next. And a lot of the administration, most of the time, what I hear is the new head coach that's going to be hired will make that decision. Yeah, in 2017, for the men and the women, they're talking about changing our recruiting laws, which would mean that I can't even make an offer or bring you on campus to really discuss recruiting and our program until September 1 of your junior year. And it may go in September 1 of 2017. So work with your guidance counselors at your schools and your coaches and know whether those rules came into place. If that's the case, I still think the most important thing is to create a relationship with a coach. So 8th grade, 9th grade, go to clinics, go to camps there, go to prospect days that are on their websites, and get yourself invited. Because I think they're going to see you somehow in 7th and 8th and 9th grade and start making their short list. It's happening. Not everybody goes that early. But I would start creating a relationship 8th grade-ish on.
How do you find out about those prospect games and get invited to them?
Prospect days, sometimes they will put them on their website, sometimes they don't. And typically the first one starts somewhere while they're in fall ball. So end of August when school is starting, or mid-August when school is starting, I would email and say, you're one of my top choices. Are you having a prospect day this fall? Could I come? Invite yourself. You've got to be proactive sometimes. And I'm not saying stalk me every week or send me 5 pages of everything and every clip from every game of every photographed piece of newspaper. I've seen those too. But sometimes you have to invite yourself. And a couple times that's panned out. A kid's shown up and all of a sudden I really liked how she was in the audience. And I'm like, and a lot of times they'll do a clinic around it so they can see you play. And then they get a chance to decide whether they want you. So sometimes you got to invite yourself. Sometimes you will be invited through a club coach or your high school coach. They'll let you know.
How realistic is it to really expect a girl going to ninth grade to have a list of 20 schools where they think she wants to go to? You have any idea what your high school grades are yet. You have to take an SAT.
I know. How realistic at pre-ninth grade of knowing your 20 schools and knowing what you're doing. It's not realistic. It's just reality.
30 years ago, before technology, coaches reached out to you. That doesn't happen anymore.
I know. Coaches, I'm now a director of our Capital Club, Lacrosse Club. So a lot of coaches will reach out to me because they know I was a college coach, so they know me. And they'll be like, hey, we like this one, and this one of your freshman class. And I let them know. I let them get in touch with them. We try to set up phone calls or visits. It's not realistic. It's the dumbest thing in the world. That's why I'm not coaching in college anymore. I don't believe in it. And I hope this rule does come in that they have to wait until you're a junior. But it is what it is right now. So we just start to dabble in relationships, take them to a few kinds of different campuses. A 1 in the city, a 1 maybe in suburbia, a 2, a 3. One-day clinics at least are cheaper. And that'll start to give them an idea of like, oh, I really hated being out here with the cows. Like, I want the city. You'll start to at least hear them talk about things they want. Is it realistic for them to find schools? Not really, but I think if you go through the RPIs, they can get an idea of who the better schools are, who the ones are in the middle, or who's in the bottom of Division 1, 2, and 3 to get an idea of, I think by 8th grade, you know whether your daughter's competitive or not. Absolutely. But I think I usually see the kids that want the ball more and aren't as shy on the field.
So if the kids are starting in 8th and 9th, does that mean that all the positions are kind of spoken for and that juniors and seniors have an option?
No, typically, like the freshmen that went. When some of our freshmen committed in the fall of their freshman year, there might have been 2 at one college, and they have 6 or 8 spots. So now that they're heading into their sophomore year, this summer was important, and this August and fall is important for them to get on the campus because they're going to choose their other 5 or 6. So a few may go in the freshman year. So if I have 6 to 8 spots, I might take 2 or 3 early. Maryland and Florida take all like 8 early. But most will take a few, and then they'll have 4 more spots through their sophomore year, and maybe even into that summer. There are some Division I's that are just starting to look at our sophomore class because they are choosing to do it slower. So you're going to have to look. Lax Power and RecruitLacrosse.com posts where the commits are already going. So you could go on and see, like, Maryland already has 15 people. Then you're gonna kind of know, right? So let me get this side because I feel like I've ignored them.
I just had a question on coaches moving. Like, at a smaller D1 school, do you find that coaches are using it as a stepping stone to get to a bigger...
Well, I wouldn't say it's the size of the school, but it might be that it's a newer program that they might be using as a stepping stone, or it might be a program in a conference that's not as strong. Sometimes they will go in and use it as a stepping stone. Every person is different, and that's the hard part of this. I would ask, where do you see yourself in 10 years from now, 5 years from now? Are you going to be here when I'm here? And my answer was like, well, I could get hit by a train, but I really love this school and I'm going to finish coaching my career here. And some will be like, I don't know. And some may lie. I don't know. So every person is different, and sometimes you're going to start to see reality. Like I know one year, one coach, there were at least 8 kids that walked in my office that told me that this other school, that they were their number one choice. And I'm going, okay, 8 saying they're 1. I don't think the math works for me. So some people have reputations, and that's where you use the parents and the alums to kind of get a feel for it. But I would always ask that question, at least listen to what you hear. I don't know. Yes, I love it here. I think it was hard for me because I was getting older. So people are like, are you still going to be coaching like 10 years from now? You're going to be like in a wheelchair. So it's tough. It's tough.
Follow up. So kids get recruited like an 8th, 9th grade. It's verbal. That can be pulled, right?
That verbal can be pulled from the coach, and you can make a decision to go until you sign a letter of intent, which is the second Wednesday in November of your senior year. But the other thing you want to do is, once you're committed to somewhere and you've made a commitment, I would continue to grow with them and grow that relationship. Show up in the fall once or twice, show up in the spring, go to one of their camps. Like, keep going to continue that relationship. And hopefully they don't just go, I gotcha, I'm going on. They need to show some love after they take you in. But, I have 2 kids at Dartmouth. I said, look, I don't know what's going to happen with this coaching staff. And there's a couple people that have moved schools. If you want to look. But let's at least wait and see who they hire. And if Dartmouth was the school you wanted to be at, let's see what they do with us next. Because we got to wait until somebody gets hired. Because they're going to be the one that's making the choice. But I think because, and I would have never said this before, but I'm going to say it now. I think because they're making us decide early, they're trying to take the best kids they can for their program. You want to find the best school for you. And I'm not saying you should go out and try to poach yourself, but make a decision when you're ready to make a decision. But if something changes, like Virginia Tech just changed for the women. New coach. I had a player that was their first choice from day one, and the coach that was there never showed love. This guy came in and was like, hey, I like this kid. I'm like, you know what? It's all fair in love and war for you to find the school that's best for you too, academically, athletically, and socially. I don't like it. I don't think poaching should happen unless there's a coach change. But I think the reality of this early stuff opens the door for that. I don't know of many coaches that really take back offers. I really haven't. Unless they really do something stupid, like get arrested, or they fail everything, or there's a lot of party stuff on their Twitter stuff. And that would bother me too. Those would be red flags. So you know how you have to behave, do it.
Besides showing film, how would you sell speed and agility over email?
Besides showing speed and agility on film by email. Times, like a 40-yard sprint. Yeah, we do sometimes I'll see it. At the end of the day, speed can look different on film anyway. I don't know of any coach that doesn't make a decision unless they've seen them live. So once you send the YouTube and they let us know they're interested, the most important thing is for us to get that college coach to be able to see your daughter play. Because sooner or later, they're going to want to have to see it in person. And that will show them agility and speed.
What teams that don't keep stats over kids, so they absolutely love them?
You could use stats from high school. If your team really doesn't keep stats, you could keep stats on your daughter. I don't like stats as a club program. I'm trying to teach them to be team-oriented, so we don't do it. But you could keep them. I think it would be easier to get it from your high schools, and that's okay. But if you want to keep stats, I've seen them. But I already have an 8th grade dad that I do private lessons with his daughter that's a goalie, and I'm like, I'm at the game, and then all of a sudden I see her stats, and I'm like, that's not the game I saw. She didn't have 13 saves. I think the ball missed the cage 7 times that you counted it, and you threw in a couple turnover, like she got a ground ball and some other stuff, and I'm like, she saved the ball and it hit the ground and you picked it up and that's what was a ground ball? So make sure they're realistic stats if you keep them. But yeah, some clubs do. And if they don't, and that's something you want to do, go ahead. Sometimes too, we'll like the stats maybe from a good club. Like I know Yellow Jackets is a good club for us in women. So like her game against the Yellow Jackets, she had 2 goals and an assist. You know, that's not bad to say in an email because that'll open my eyes because I know they're a good club they're playing against. So it doesn't have to be from the whole summer season.
Do you know if, in your opinion, are Division 2 and 3 programs on this accelerated timeline? Like, I feel
Well, Division 2 and 3 are on accelerated timeline just because the first are going faster. So when the first ones are gone, then the middle Division 1 programs are going to eat up the next group. And then the next group's going to go. So Division 2 and 3 have accelerated a little bit, but they're not looking at 8th graders.
like as a rising ninth grader, is there any reason to send, if you really want to go to a Division 3 school, should you be sending a coach an email?
If I'm a 9th grader and I really know I want to go, let's say, to Gettysburg, and they're a Division 3, yeah, I'd send the email. Usually what she'll send back is, thank you so much. We'll keep you on our list to look at, but we're looking at the class in front of you. But it's okay to start that relationship. It's okay. So they're going faster, but typically they're not looking at kids until after their sophomore year into their junior year. And the NESCACs are looking even later because they have to have more grades to look at. If you're looking at Ivy, you better have a great GPA and you better have honors classes and AP classes or it's not going to happen. But talk to those coaches because they do have a scale that they can use for 6 people. That's all I'm going to say. That will help some of you get in if you're a little bit lower than a 4.0. All right? Anyone else over here? It's hard to have a relationship with the administration because they're not the day-to-day that your son or daughter is going to be around. We have somebody that pretty much will pre-screen in admissions for us. So there's a person there. We have a compliance coordinator that we work through. All of us typically have one person that's in charge of our sport. So there's people above us. Sometimes they will come in and talk to people on prospect days. It's hard to kind of create a relationship with them, but understanding who might be making a decision in admissions is a good thing. You know, if something happens, knowing who's in charge of that sport is okay. So that if a coach leaves, you can email that person and say, look, we're on board. We want to come to this school. What's going to happen with this offer? You know, let them know. And don't lie. There was somebody that sent an email to a friend of mine that's a compliance coordinator about an offer that was made, and she talked to the coach walking out the door, and the coach was like, I never made an offer to that kid. So don't lie. Shoot from the hip. You know, and most coaches do. It's tough to say no, but at the end of the day, you're either going to get a no or a yes. By the time you're heading into your junior year with your list, if it's still Northwestern and Maryland and UNC, I would say adjust you must. You know, start with your dream team. Eventually, we're going to work through this whole process of the train to know about where you're jumping out or you're jumping onto the train. And there's places that are quality that are 2s and 3s and club programs. Just because you're good enough to play in one doesn't mean you have to play in one. It is a lot of time. So what you want to listen to when you go on your visit is, what's your expectations of the player? She'll tell you academically, athletically, she'll tell you socially. Our whole team is going to live on the same floor. You're going to live with 4 lacrosse players. You're going to study hall for 4 years. You're going to eat it. You're going to eat at a training table just with athletes. Like, know what you're going to eat in, live in, study in. Some people just put you in study hall until you prove that you can do it on your own. Know what environment that you're walking into. But when ask the coach for part of their year of a calendar to see how many hours you're putting in. On paper, you're allowed to put in 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week is a part-time job. Ask the players what else is expected. What do you guys do off of practice? Oh, we have to empty a ball bag twice a week. Takes about 20 minutes twice. That's another 40 minutes to your week. You have an injury or you always have to have your ankles taped. Add another half hour every day before practice. Understand how much time you're going to spend. And some people, I had a kid to go, I want to play in 3, it's easier. I'm like, no, it's not. Yeah, you're only allowed 3 weeks of practices and 1 contest date. But the 5 weeks before they do 3 weeks of practice, you play pickup with the captains and you run and you lift. So you're going to be putting in a lot of time no matter what level you're playing at. So make sure you understand the time that you have to give to this. And if you don't want to put in the time and you don't stay in shape from 8th grade through college, and you don't get on the wall and you don't touch your stick away from lacrosse, you don't have a Division I mentality. I'll tell you that right now. It's like I started with. I want the kid that's going to do this much. You put in 5 or 10% more, you're going to be able to go to 5 or 10% more. All right? Your speed and some of your natural ability is going to tell you where you're going. Your academics are going to open or close doors. All right? Do your due diligence before you make a decision. I got a phone call from one of our players. First school she went to. I love Podunk U. I'm going to call her back, tell her I'm going to take the offer. Did you see him practice? Did you watch coach? No, I just love the school. Have you seen any other school? No. Well, that's why you love the school. You haven't looked anywhere else. We don't even buy a car like that. And I got off the phone with her and her mom, and I said to a friend of mine, she's going to call the coach back right now. I know it. 20 minutes later on Twitter, she took it. This kid took an offer without seeing the coach or watching the team play or seeing the team chemistry. And she did it in the fall, and it was an Ivy school, and she got a 3.65 right now. That is not going to get her into the school she's committed to. I'm just saying. Be smart enough to know what you're walking into. You're the one that's going to go to class. You're the one that's going to go to practice. You're the one that's going to live in the dorm. Don't let mom and dad make the decision just because you're a 9th grader. Decide what you want. Because the coach isn't going to do those things either. That's on you. So understand what you're walking into. Understand what you're committing to. It can be a great thing. I think I just scared the hell out of you, but there are some great places out there to play. I would have not afforded to go to college if I didn't go in on a scholarship. And I don't regret playing at Maryland. But Maryland is not the same place that I played at. So do your homework. And eventually the players are going to tell you what your world is like. Not the coach, not your parents, the players. The players are going to help you really see what life is like in the trenches every day. Because you only get 1 day off from your sport a week for most of every day that you're in school. Even Division II and III. If you're not playing pickup or you're not staying in shape, you're not going to help your team win. And at the end of the day, that's what we want. Somebody that wants to help us. There in your handouts, there's a dirty dozen. There's 12 things in there that can help you have your coach not want to take you off the field. All right? They're going to look at athleticism. They're going to look at your skills. They're going to look at strategy and how you read the game. They're going to look at coachability. They're going to look at attitude, and they're going to try to see chemistry with you and your team. So understand they're going to look at all those things everywhere. When you're at tournaments or when you go back to the hotel tonight, understand that there are college coaches all around you. I watch you at the pool. I watch you at the restaurant. I watch you and listen to you when you're walking back to your car. Oh my God, I hate this sport. I hate playing. It's too hot. I'm like looking at the kid's uniform, looking at her number, and I'm taking her off my list. They will look at everything because they need to. It's their job. And understand that. At the end of the day, they're going to work to feed their family and not yours. And I've heard a coach tell me that already. I'm like, really? I think it's about the players. I think this is all about you. Getting an education, playing a sport that you love well, and enjoying the people that you're surrounded by every day. And you should make 3 sets of friends. People on your team, other athletes and non-athletes. My players at Monmouth called them NARPs, non-athletic regular people. I'm like, oh my God, there's a term for them? Because I had players move in a house. I'm like, who's living in your house? Oh, we have a soccer player, 3 lacrosse players, and we have a NARP. I'm like, you got a NARC living with you? A NARC. No, coach, a NARP, a non-athletic regular person. I'm like, oh, really? There's a term for them. There are going to be people on your floor that are not athletes. It's okay to be friends with them. Sometimes you have to get away from the team. And the best friends that you need to make are the friends in your major because you're going to be group studying with them and you're going to be borrowing their notes when you're not in class because you will miss classes to play a sport in college. So get to know them and not the ones sitting in the back with D's on their quizzes. First day, what you get, what you get, what you get? Find the A's. Sit with them. I used them to get through every science class I had to take, trust me. But they will also help you with you borrowing their notes because you are going to miss classes and you're going to need to borrow notes from people. Hopefully, and I think women more than men don't know how to do this, we have to learn how to network. Those people that are in your classes, male and female, possibly could help network when you graduate to help you find a job. So get to know people in your major and get to know a couple professors in your major that like you as a student, because your references to get your first job are going to come from your coaches, somebody academically, and hopefully somewhere in your career in college, you actually go do an internship or something related to what you want to be when you grow up, so that that person can write a resume, a recommendation for you. All right? Stay on the good side of your coaches. They're going to want to see you be good people as much as they're going to want to see you be good players and good students. All right? Any other questions? Because I think I went way over my time, but anything? Going once? Bueller?
Your email address.
It's right on the front of the handout.
Okay, thank you.
So if you have any questions, like I got out of college coaching because I thought the train was going too fast and I didn't think it was right to do that to families and to players. I also didn't like the way they did the 90-second rule. We'll see how it turns the game. But I would love to help any of you that are looking at schools. If I can help you at all, please feel free to email me. All right, thank you.